Welcome into An Abundance of Thrones, the An Abundance of Not exclusive Game of Thrones podcast. Garrett here with Brad and Wade.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
What's up, guys?
This was a good show. That's what is up.
This is a good show.
This was a good,
episode. We are looking at...
Is that spoken in a general sense?
Well, yes and no.
This was a good episode, or the entire show is good?
Yes and
Both.
yes.
Yes. Oh, okay.
If you needed assistance with that, go away. Reminder to everybody, this show will have spoilers as we look at Season 4, Episode 3, Breaker of Chains. And this is an explicit podcast, so some profanity may fly out of our gaping holes in our face. If you don't like it, you better go away.
And again, by way of disclaimer, we are discussing the episode and what happened in it. So if you haven't seen the episode yet and do not want spoilers, this is the only spoiler alert. Stop the podcast now and go watch the episode, then come back and listen.
That's it. So, to some of the nitty-gritty stats here. Director, once again, Alex Graves. He directed last week's episode, The Lion and the Rose, along with 2 more coming later this season and 2 episodes in Season 3, which was Now His Watch Is Ended and Kissed by Fire. Writers this episode are the Double Ds, Dan B. Weiss and David Benioff. Viewership this episode, we got a spike back in it at 6.59 million. That's up from the 6.31 from last week, but still down from the Season 4 premiere.
Why do you think there was a drop? Why do you think the premiere was so much higher?
Well, I know I went around work in saying, "Hey, Game of Thrones is tomorrow or tonight," and people are like, "Oh yeah, I got it. There is. Oh, I don't even have HBO." It's like, I think it did kind of catch people off guard.
Yeah, I think the anticipation for the premiere was huge. I mean, this show's done nothing but pick up steam. I think the reason why episode 2 had a drop was probably as a result of it being pre-Easter weekend, and a lot of people get together, and family comes first for a lot of people, and they'll watch it later on HBO Go, which is not going to factor into the standard viewership, to my understanding. And then now that I think a lot of that stuff has ended, even though this last episode was on Easter Sunday. I think the way that school schedules and what people do with the holiday was a conflict. So I predict the viewers should be steady, if not on the rise, for this point going forward.
Did we say there was a spike in viewership or a decrease?
It's a spike from last week, but it didn't exceed episode 1.
I think I can see why there was the spike.
Yeah.
People going, "Did you know what happened?" No. Well, you should watch it.
That's also true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's season 2 or episode 2, obviously a long look forward episode. People waiting on for quite a while, and that was it. So now people are getting back into the swing of things. So, did you have any counter thoughts as to why the viewership oscillated?
The only thing I can think of that really fits, I mean, for your theory about being the holiday weekend, for that to work, then the viewership should have dropped this weekend. But I think the repercussions of the death of King Joffrey from last week, I think that probably piqued some interest. I know that like you said, it's been long looked for. He has been a jerk of a character.
Oh, he's been an ass. Come on, this is an explicit podcast. Let's go.
I think he's got extra ears. I think he can go without this week. It was interesting though, Brad, in that the episode of Joffrey's demise was the lower rating of the 3. So there's the aftermath that had the increase. So it must have been just people talking about it, and
that's what I thought.
Yeah, talk around the water cooler. Word is getting around, and maybe a few disillusioned people because of how bad he was have come back to it now with the excitement of his death.
Agreed. So we want to talk about some scenes that we all enjoyed, questioned, were curious about. Wade, do you want to start us off with anything that may be earlier in the show rather than later?
Yeah, because you know which scene was my favorite.
Yes, I do.
I'm trying to think, there's much of an earlier scene. I mean, there was that part with Tywin and the Joffrey's brother. I don't know his name.
Tommen? Prince Tommen. And the discussion about what makes a good king.
It seems like Tywin is wasting no time on breeding the next king, teaching the next king.
Yeah, I think Tywin was no fool. Obviously was no fool to Joffrey's nature and or inability to rule, and sees a very different outcome with Tommen, especially at a younger age, a more moldable personality.
I find Tommen's whole attitude, though, interesting in this episode. You know, is he in shock, or does he really just not care that his brother just died? At the opening, he seems to be kind of a little teary with his mother there pushing that agenda along. But once Tywin starts talking about, you know, you're going to be the next king now, and these are the qualities you should have, it's almost like a awakening moment.
Yeah, it's basically like, I know my brother is dead, but, you know, he's dead now, and the realm is still alive. There are bigger things
at play.
Yeah, I think I didn't necessarily pick up on the lack of emotion, but he did seem to be as indifferent as Tywin was to the situation. Just, yeah, okay, there's a dead body there, so what makes a good king? Oh yeah, wisdom, okay.
But still, you just got told that you're going to be the king.
Yeah.
But on a different note, we did actually kind of see some more humanity from the queen, or former queen regent. Cersei. You know, she's saying, do you really have to go into this now?
Well, and it's been expressed throughout the season that as much of a bitch as she can be, Tyrion even says her redeeming quality is her cheekbones and the love for her children. Those are the only two saving graces that she has. And even though Joffrey was a little shit, she still, you know, loved him as a mother should. But following the scene with Tommen and Tywin, we see the quote-unquote rape scene with Jaime and Cersei. Now, in the books, this was a little bit different, and it didn't take place at this time. Jaime wasn't actually in King's Landing at the time of Joffrey's death. He came back quite a bit later, and he did force himself on Cersei in the book, but she very quickly not only accepted, but further provoked it.
This was in the books, right?
This is in the books.
Let's just clarify that.
So, there was a lot of buzz around the internet about, you know, why they went this way, why they have to have a rape scene, why, you know, this, that, and the other, when it was so different than portrayed in the books. And George kind of came out and said that with some of the artistic and creative rights that Dan and Dave have with the show, he knew, you know, there was going to be some variations, and in his mind, the rape scene was always supposed to be shocking, even in the books. But the difference between books and show is that in the books, you're in Jaime's head. You know his emotional state. He's thinking, and it's first person for Jaime. And the camera on a show is always going to be third person.
Well,
so you're never going to get the same inflection that you do with text versus visuals.
I always like to think it's like, how impersonal would it be? How fast would the, I want to say, feminist community would get up if she just kind of took it? You know, because in a book, it's like, all right, you read it in the book, but if it's in a visual medium being spread out to thousands of people, how fast would the feminist would have gotten on the show on HBO if she did just take the raping, I guess would be the best term to call it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, my take on it is, yeah, it does vary from what was in the book, but with George Martin acting as a, he's still very much involved in the show, and he's said on numerous times that now that he's written the later books, there are things he would like to have been able to go back and clean up. Given the constraints that the show has, time and all of that, I'm prepared to accept some creative edits.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously
it doesn't bother me that it varies a little bit. Agreed.
And obviously the show's no stranger to graphicness and sexuality and nudity, so having a scene like this isn't... And we almost saw this with Sansa in Season 2, when she was in the... out riding and the Hound came and saved her. So, I mean, we've flirted with the rape situation at least once, if not more, this series. So we actually had a rape scene. Great. Okay, move on. Kind of my stance, but apparently people are up in arms about it. And I think one of the issues is that in the books at this stage, more or less, you start seeing Jaime in a different light than you did early on. He's starting to redeem himself a little bit. He's taking actions that are not selfish or whatnot. And then to have him go back in the show now, where you started feeling that for him, and now go back and be, and be a raper in this sense. A lot of people kind of questioned why they were doing that and kind of blackening his name when they were trying to clean it up for a while. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with this in following episodes, how they explain it. Do they address any aftermath, or is it just okay, here it was, move on?
So, okay, move on.
Fantastic. Scenes from you, Brad.
There you go.
You said you don't want to jump to the end of the show, so...
I don't. There's a lot of show here. We don't need to jump to probably the best scene in the entire show at the end of it, so...
that was probably my favorite scene as well, so we're going to have to shelve that then at your request.
Yes, do it.
I thought the interaction between Tyrion and Pod in the cell was rather interesting. Obviously this entire matter is they're pinning it on Tyrion.
You mean he's not guilty?
Say that again?
You mean he's not guilty?
Well, he hasn't had a trial yet, so presumed innocence.
Not in King's Landing, he's not.
No.
No, he's already guilty. The way Tywin has gone about setting up who the judges are going to be, I mean, it's already heavily slanted against him.
He's a firm believer. I think we all are, and I think we're all meant to be, that he's not getting out of this. There's no one to fight on his side. The judges are all swayed by good old Dad. I mean, there's just no hope for redemption here.
There's no witnesses left for him to call because, the prosecution's already called all of them.
Yep.
And now they're buying off his squire.
Or attempting.
Attempting to. And I just find it interesting, kind of him, that he essentially tells him, you know what, I want you to be safe, so go ahead and accept their terms and testify against me.
Well, that's not what he said. It was more of, if you are going to support me, you need to support me by not being here. You need to go away. I will not have you die on my hand. You need to leave King's Landing while you can. He says, Pot, this is goodbye.
Yep.
Go get my brother and then leave.
Leave.
So, yeah, he's definitely not telling Pod. And you see, Pod was not going to take the offer anyway because he was too loyal to Tyrion.
Correct.
There was, so that wasn't going to happen. But, yeah, definitely there was little, careful to say bromance here, but there was definitely a mutual admiration between the two of them, so.
Okay, but I think it comes somewhat as a surprise for Tyrion, given the fact that everybody hates him just because of his stature.
Well, that and killing his mother. That's a big portion.
Well, yeah. But again, through no fault of his own. I mean, everybody's against him, so to have this level of loyalty, I think, kind of surprised him.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. He hasn't seen this from anybody else ever. So, no, that's true. Part of me wants to be surprised, but the other part of me doesn't in regards to Tywin and his ability to sway a situation in his favor. I mean, he's going to the man who probably hates him most in the entire capital, if not near country, or realm, rather, and that of Prince Oberyn.
Completely unarmed as well.
Approaches him in a brothel, which is the second time a Lannister has interrupted Oberyn's entertainment and pleasure in 3 episodes. But not only...
That's got to be getting old for him.
Right? I mean, jeez. Let a man have his whores. Shit. But not only confronts him, they have their banter about a son is not responsible for their father or grandfather's actions. Okay, Tywin says, I didn't command the rape and murder of your sister. I'll give you the hound, but I need you to... I'm sorry, you're right, the mountain. I'll give you the mountain, but in return, I pretty much need you to help me execute my son. Oh, and by the way, you can be on the King's Small Council too, to sweeten the pot a little bit. And to go to your probably biggest enemy here and be able to swing it into your favor is a gift.
Oh, this guy's a master negotiator.
This guy, Tywin knows what's up. If anyone knows how this game is truly played, it's Tywin.
Well, and at the risk of being too cliche, there's a reason for the title of the show. Tywin definitely knows how to play the Game of Thrones, and he is very good at keeping his enemies closer.
Yeah, that's very, very true. The Arya Hound scene and in partnership with this farmer and daughter, how did you have anything you wanted to call out on that one, or was that pretty much straightforward for you? Either one.
The only thing I would point to is, I think Arya's referencing the Hound as father kind of came as a surprise to him and a little bit of a shock. And I wonder if there's almost a new appreciation of the awkward relationship going on there. She's recognizing that she does need him to help get her out of danger. And I wonder if he's becoming maybe a little attached to her as, in that protective role.
At least for the short term.
At least for the short term. I mean, ultimately he wants to deliver her to her aunt and get his money and leave. But, they've been through a lot together, and I wonder if there's a kind of a fondness growing there.
Okay. Wade, what did you think?
Definitely he's really trying to... I don't really know, really. You do see kind of a father figure, but it's really... I only see it really for him to protect her, for him to get his money once he sells her off.
Okay, I saw her story as not a result of her and the Hound's relationship, but her being almost hyper aware of the relationship of the farmer and daughter. Talks about, okay, well, this is my father. Yeah, our cottage burned down. I don't have a mother either. and playing into the empathy of that they're, between the four of them, are mirrors of each other for the most part, to try to, whether it just be get out of the land safely or to take advantage, whether that's just, shelter from the storm and food. Obviously, the Hound saw it as a way to put some coin in his pocket. But I think they're trying to show Arya as starting to more and more get acclimated to the way the world is and to be aware of what's going on. She knows the houses. She has an idea of where she is. So she knows that if she says Stark or Lannister, she's got a 50-50 chance of being wrong. But if you're fighting for one of the lower houses like the Tullys, which is not a low house but lower, you have a little bit easier time of being accepted, and knowing where she was at geographically was
she was able to use that to her advantage.
Totally. So I think that was brilliant on her part, if that's the direction they were going, which I'm kind of hoping it was.
Well, we did see back when she was with Tywin in the last season.
Yep, when they were at Harrenhal.
Yep, he was. What's it called? Basically quizzing her on what houses were what, or where she would come from.
And kind of calling her out on the me lord, my lord, all that kind of stuff. And so she was kind of digging herself into a pit while also digging her way out of it. So being highborn has given her the education that she needs to kind of maybe manipulate this world a little bit. I'm trying to think of what kind of came next after that.
It's interesting. It was just a brief reference, but she does reference her friend across the sea.
Yeah,
the guy
she says she has friends in Bravos, and yeah,
yes.
We obviously know that Illyrio, the dancing teacher / sword teacher, we assume he died in King's Landing when he was protecting her in season 1. But then, yeah, we have Jack and Hagar, the man of 1,000 faces, who gave her the coin of value and said Velar Morgulis.
I saw a really cool picture of that the other day.
What's that?
Just brace yourself, Arya is coming, then the words
Velar Morgulis.
Yeah, it was actually like, alright.
Very cool. Yeah, so and for those who know the story, maybe a little foreshadowing. So we'll see what happens there. Well, without further delay, who wants to jump in first on the top scene? I think that's collective.
Go ahead.
Go.
Well, this is where Cersei. No, not Cersei. Dany reaches. Was it Marine? Marine. And Marine sends their one champion out, and he then proceeds to piss on the floor or on the ground. And
he seemed pretty well endowed. Not that I was really looking, but after, the camera angle they showed, and after watching the show twice,
he was holding that thing like it was an actual snake.
Holy cow, that thing was. There's donkey in his lineage or something. I don't know.
He walks with a kind of a limp. He's got that.
He sleeps standing up. Figure that one out.
So he doesn't roll over too much.
I guess my favorite part, or maybe not favorite part, but kind of a call out to another film with the two champions, in one-on-one battle. The first thing that came to mind when I saw that was Indiana Jones.
Oh, really? I was thinking you were going to go Troy with Brad Pitt.
I was thinking that.
No, the one that comes to my mind is Indiana Jones, where the one is posturing with the sword and
I see the scene.
Showing off, and Indiana pulls out the gun and just shoots him.
Yep. I see the scene
very
vividly.
much echoed of that with the knife thrown into the horse.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not actually going to wait for you to get to me.
Yeah, I'm not giving you the opportunity. I'm not going to just wait here. Yeah. And I just offs the guy and turns back to Danny and it's like,
okay, done.
okay.
Later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just very cool, very calm.
It was funny when, like, after everyone's like, oh, I'll do it. And she's like, nope, you're my general. You're my most trusted advisor. I need you to stay alive because you have the most single combat or whatever. And he's like, look, I'm the last to join your army. Last of this, last of this. Oh, and by the way, I am the son of a whore. I was like, did that really need to be in there? But okay.
I'm pretty much worthless in every way except this.
Wouldn't he be still commanding, like, the Second Sons or whatever it is?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, because the Hound references the Second Sons when he says he was thinking about going over to Essos.
He said he's going to be a sellsword, but
then he mentions Second Son sounds good or sounds appealing, something like that. It's real quick. But ever since...
so I thought he would take up command of the Second Sons after he...
Offed the captains of the Second Sons?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on with that. You'd think he would have taken that and joined the fight, but maybe not. I do still wish we had the original actor playing
Dario.
Dario, thank you. Just because he had so much more charisma to him, even though he was cocky as hell, there was a charismatic sense to him, and this actor doesn't have it. But either way, the single swipe of his sword to get the job done with essentially no sweat exerted.
Oh, he did. But even before that, he looked back at Danny and was like, "Wink, got this. Let's just end it."
Yep.
Okay, but it was showmanship versus swordmanship.
Well, she did say, give him a show.
The one was very much about showing off. The other was just very efficient. I've got a job to do. It's one thrown knife and one sword slash, and the job's done.
Does this kind of remind you of the fight between Bronn when we're really introduced to him in Season 1? When he's fighting for Tyrion at the Eyrie, where he fights the one knight, and the one knight is fighting with honor. He's got a shield, he's fighting, for the Eyrie, and Bronn, being the sellsword, is... I fight to win, and there was the call out of, you fight with no honor, and he goes, true, but he did, and look where that got him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and looking back, I kind of feel the same way about this fight, in that, the horse rider came out, he's got his joust, and he's kind of going about it the honorable one-on-one way, and then Dario's like, yeah, no, you're just going to die.
I need to end this quick. Shut him up, just like my leader says so.
Yep. How'd you like the speech that Danny gives to the slaves and the gift she sends them?
I was really amused by the gift that was launched. When they released the trebuchets, my first thought at least was, okay, they're going to bring down the wall of the city, but it wasn't that at all. It's here's some slave collars that we took when we freed the slaves in the previous cities. Do with them what you will. You've got a few masters standing around that necks would probably fit in them.
Well, when I first saw the catapults and I saw they were barrels and they were kind of breaking easy, I thought they might be filled with weapons to arm the slaves after her speech. Because she talks about, I've freed slaves from 2 other cities. They're standing with me. You can have this too, you just have to take it. And I thought she was going to give them the tools to do it. And then when I saw it was the color, I was like, oh, okay, so I'm just providing evidence that, look, you can either trust the words that I did these things, or here's the actual collars to prove that I freed the slaves.
Oh, she is a great politician.
Yeah. She knows what's up.
Absolutely.
Do we have any, we're getting right up to our half-hour mark here. Do we have any predictions, thoughts, hopes to seize in the upcoming episode?
What is the title of the upcoming episode?
Oh, that's a great question. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick.
You have 5
Oath
seconds.
Keeper.
The Oath Keeper.
Oath Keeper.
Oath Keeper.
That's right. I do remember seeing that now. Which, if memory serves from the books, isn't that what Jaime named his Valyrian steel sword? To kind of keep him honest after his life of oath breaking?
I believe so.
Fantastic.
So we're going to see a lot more of Jaime in this one.
It appears that way.
It'll be interesting to see where they take it.
But the one person we did not see, Reek.
We did not see Reek this
episode.
and we did not see Bran this episode. So, we'll see what happens there. I am very much looking forward to the trial situation with Tyrion and the aftermath. I'm curious of how accurately some of those actions portray to the book. So we're definitely looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Keep it locked here.
Keep it locked for your exclusive Abundance of Thrones feedback.
Keep on being badasses. Like Dario.
Valar Morghulis.